Hey big heads, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Reese with a fork, pun intended. I'm a celebrity assistant by day and a pop culture junkie who provides social commentary at night. Please do me the biggest favor of your life by subscribing to my channel and liking this video so I can continue to provide you with great content. So let's get into today's video. So, for those of you who've been living under a rock, Antoni Porowski is a Polish-Canadian television personality, actor, author, chef, and model. He is the food and wine expert on the Netflix series Queer Eye. Now, I would say out of all the guys on Queer Eye, Antoni seems to be the most controversial. Not by default. I don't know much about the casting process for the show, but what I do know is there were many chefs in New York City that were not happy when Antoni booked the role, as some felt that he's not a real chef and the role should have went to someone more deserving. We'll get into that. So I do remember the first season of Queer Eye, and Antoni had a lot of people annoyed because every episode pretty much had him using his favorite ingredient, which was an avocado, which has kind of become this joke moving forward into the future, which caused a huge uproar among folks in the culinary industry. So let's be honest, Antoni is the poster child for the refined, cosmopolitan image. He also considers himself to be sexually fluid, which we will discuss, and he has a delightful personality. So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second and say that if Antoni wasn't like this delicate flower and had more of a bad boy image, would he receive so much criticism? Because it just seems like to me that he's just trying to live his life and be happy and be kind and respectful to other people, and people are just looking for things to drag him because of the fact that he has that image, he has a likable personality, and he's doing very well for himself right now. So right now, Antoni has a new cookbook out called Antoni Let's Do Dinner. It's 80 of his favorite meals to eat during the week that are quick and easy. And no, this is not a plug. This is not a promo. I'm not getting paid for it. I just was speaking to my homegirl, and she told me that she got the new cookbook and she doesn't want to make one thing from it. And then other people said the same thing for some of the reviews. They find that the meals are too complicated for weeknight meals and there are a lot of ingredients. So if you know Antoni, you know that he loves to use a lot of ingredients, which, well, first of all, let's get in and let's talk a little bit about Antoni and his background. Queer Eye is a show of remarkable intensity, full of revelations and tears and seemingly genuine emotional growth. The Fab Five, or a SWAT team deployed against the quiet trespasses of conventional masculinity, guiding their subjects to reckonings with their fears and prejudices. For some of the makeover subjects, the show represents the first occasion that they spent real time with gay men. For others, the transformation involves confronting self-destructive habits or having uncomfortable conversations about heavy topics like mental health, racism, fatherhood, and the judicious use of facial concealer. Antoni came to the attention of the Queer Eye producers thanks to Ted Allen, the food and wine expert on the original incarnation of the show. They both live in the same Brooklyn neighborhood, and Antoni has cooked for Allen a few times. This apparent nepotism has been fuel for critics, as has Antoni's lack of culinary school degree or restaurant experience. Porowski acknowledges that he's never claimed to be a professional chef. In interviews and on social media, Antoni describes himself as mostly a self-taught cook, a scholar of PBS cooking shows and classic cookbooks. Rather, he's a food lover and creative who simply wants to share with others. Antoni said in a previous interview, "I am someone who food has been a constant in my life, and it's been a passion. It's something that I've constantly studied, and I'm constantly trying to better my craft, and that's good enough for me. And I know the people who eat my food really enjoy it, and those are the people who matter at the end of the day." He clearly has skills at a technical level. However, Porowski's defenders, among them some of his castmates, have noted his job on the show isn't to produce high-flying multi-course meals or to dazzle the viewers with culinary party tricks. This is something that I understand. Going on the show, especially when you're going to random towns, these individuals, they're not going to know how to julienne peppers in 3 days, and why should they? They're not going to be sitting there and making avocado, walnut, cranberry crisp salads with feta cheese and farm grass-fed chicken, you know? So that makes sense. And Antoni gives them access to a part of their homes in which they have been unable to comfortably be themselves, which pretty much is the kitchen, you know? And also his relative newness to gay culture, he says, sets him apart. Oh no, let me cut that out. Although Porowski features on one of the most vocally gay positive shows of all time, he often struggles with his own identity. There's a keen sense that he doesn't want to be put in a box or give too much away about himself in spite of his burgeoning celebrity. If nothing else, Porowski is first and foremost himself. Everything else is a matter of perspective. Antoni initially struggled with being cast on Queer Eye because he doesn't actually consider himself to be traditionally gay. As Porowski admitted in his May 2018 Gay Times cover story, "I've always considered myself a little more fluid along the spectrum. However, the foodie doesn't always consider himself bisexual or straight either. If he could have it his way, there wouldn't be any labels for what or who he is besides simply Antoni." Now, way back when, at the time he was in a relationship, he's had a couple relationships since then, but that is another thing that certain people find to be problematic. They feel as though he's using his sexuality to heighten his fame and his celebrity, where it's not necessarily gay baiting in my opinion, but they can fall in love with whomever, wherever, for whatever reason. So there has been a pattern though where he has been in relationships publicly with men, but this is just another reason why people sit there and give him a hard time, because people feel that he's just using it towards his advantage. Antoni said, "Because I didn't have a master plan for this, I'm kind of rolling with the punches. I had a bit of imposter syndrome in the beginning where I felt like I wasn't gay enough or didn't deserve to have this public position. So I said yes to everything and the rest is history." Now, if you are a New Yorker, you know about the Village Den. The Village Den was a staple in the West Village around West 12th Street. And then it went out of business. And then a few years ago, Antoni, with a few business partners, recreated the Village Den to be more of a healthy type of place. Think about it to be more so healthier meals inspired by TV dinners were the core of the restaurant, with a counter of mix and match options. So you would get like macadamia nut crusted mahi mahi, turkey meatloaf, garlic roasted broccolini, spaghetti squash. There was like a healthy twist on Antoni's Polish mother's famous cabbage rolls that had like a little bit of ground chicken and cauliflowered rice. So it was like a healthy place. So a lot of in New York City now, you can go to a lot of these fast food places where they give you fresh, local, healthy ingredients, so you're not stuffing your face with processed food. And I get the idea and I appreciate it, but also, like, I'm not spending $20 on a bowl of grass with lemon. So, and I will say, to Antoni's defense, he wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel with this fast casual restaurant. It definitely wasn't the Village Den. It's a remake of it, but it really wasn't the Village Den. If you're from the West Village, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was definitely a step in the right direction for his career. So, and I will say, if anyone sits there and Antoni, he always uses a lot of ingredients. So prior to the Village Den even opening, I remember reading an article where he said him and his team spent 3 weeks testing recipes with different chefs, and he had like a bunch of ingredients. I think maybe about 35 ingredient ideas, and they had to cut it down to at least 7. But with that being said, that is another thing that people gave him a hard time about, because it's like, now all of a sudden you're opening restaurants and you're writing cookbooks and you're traveling around the world. And it seems like a lot of people are just envious of his career and where he's at, which I can understand, because Antoni has stated in articles before that he's always been the type of person that he needs everyone to like him. He wants everyone to like him because it's something that's important to him. I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's something that happened throughout his childhood, but I just think that for me, I personally feel that he's just trying to live his life, and he's doing a good job at it. Now let's get into Bon Appetit. For those of you who don't follow, Bon Appetit is a monthly American food and entertaining magazine. Typically contains recipes, entertaining ideas, restaurant recommendation, and wine reviews. It's owned by Condé Nast, and it's been around since the 1950s. Now, there is a former staffer at Bon Appetit. Her name was Elise Whitney, and she wrote on Twitter that a senior food editor, who I believe still works for the company, allegedly tried to have 2 of her stories killed. Well, I mean, is it alleged? I'm just going to say it anyway. For those of you that don't know, killed is a term that journalists use to describe a story that was assigned to them or completed but not published, which happens a lot when you're working as a journalist. So in her tweets, Whitney, who's Korean American, wrote that this editor tried to have her profile of Antoni killed because of what she described as his petty feelings toward Porowski. So this is something that's been discussed ever since Queer Eye first came back. A lot of people feel that Antoni is not deserving of his title. He should not have been on the show, and it should have gone to someone who has a more extensive culinary background. Elise Whitney stated, quote, "This was the second time that so-and-so used his popularity to sway editorial decisions and undercut my work. Both times he went directly to my editor to try and kill a story based on petty feelings about Antoni Porowski. He never spoke to me about it. Both times I cried at my desk." Here's the thing with this. I can see why people would feel a certain way because Antoni's not really a food and culinary expert in the eyes of some people. However, as someone who works in the hospitality industry, I personally feel that, I'm not a trained chef, but I spent a lot of time in restaurants, and if I got offered a role to be a food and culinary expert, I feel like I would be able to give some sort of insight. I think everyone's different and everyone's able to bring something different to the table. And although I understand how certain people feel when they see Antoni on the screen, I don't think that it's fair to take that away from him because yeah. As I said earlier, I feel as though if Antoni had a terrible personality, Antoni had a terrible personality and he kind of had this bad boy image, people would be more accepting of him. But because he's nice and kind-hearted, I just feel like people really give him a hard time over things. And it must be difficult to be in that type of position, to have so many people judging you, especially you would assume that your peers would support you, especially in the hospitality industry. You know what I mean? That's my cue. I have to go now. I have to get back to work because my boss is calling me. So, yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think of Antoni. Are you a fan of him? Are you going to buy his cookbook? If you bought his cookbook, what do you think of it? Oh, my gosh, I have to go. Like and subscribe for more videos, okay? I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.